Hello Internet, and happy holidays. I'm sorry it's been so long since I've done a lesson. I've just been so busy drinking this Earl Grey tea for the last month that I haven't got around to it. Anyway, today I'm going to talk to you about alternate picking, but not just alternate picking in the sense of, you know, down, up, down, up, down, up, down, up, always go down on the beat, always up in between. That's how I always teach strumming to people, down on the beat and up in between. But the reality is, things aren't always going to work out that way economically for your picking. So when we start talking about economy picking, you want to start spreading your down and up strokes out in the best way possible that's going to make things easiest and fastest for you to play. So one example, well, I'll give you two examples. The first is a song that my band Tactus is working on called Ridges, and it has this really stabby riff in it that goes like this. And that last little bit there, I really struggled with for a long time. I was starting it with, I was trying to line it up with the beats, so I was like, well, I have to start this one with a downstroke, so I started down. And that worked out okay for most of the notes, but the biggest problem I was having was when I was playing this note down, my next note was on the string below that, and my pick was pretty close to the B string, but I needed it to be at the D string, and I was struggling really hard with bringing it back that fast. So I discovered, even though it's counterintuitive, the easiest way for me to play that was to start this with an upstroke instead, which is against the grain of going down on the beat and up in between always. But it worked out a lot smoother. So now instead of going down, up, down, up, down, up, down, up, down, up, down, up, down, I started with down and just do everything, or sorry, I started with up and just do everything the other way around. And that way I'm picking towards the strings that I need to be picking afterwards. I always say when you're picking, you should be picking in the direction of where your next string is. And obviously if you're staying on one string, then just going down, up, down, up, down, up is fine. But in this case, I was picking away from where I needed to be, so I changed it so that I'm picking towards it. And it felt a little weird at first, but after I got used to it, it was fine. Now another instance where this came up for me is when I was learning the Periphery song, The Gods Must Be Crazy. Which I'll show you. There's a specific part of it that I was really struggling with the picking, because that's a very, very rhythmically complex song, and I was trying really hard to organize it the best way possible. But it happens in the first verse. There's that part right there. Now, intuitively, I wanted to start that process with a downstroke. But that wound up having me do this. Up, away from the next string that I need to do. I'm on the A string now, and I needed to go to the D string, but I picked up, away from where I needed to be. So that created a distance problem. And then I had down. And then the next sequence is a series going across the top four strings. So the best way to do that is all as one big downstroke. Like this. Except the way I had it set up, my first note in that series was going to be an upstroke, so I was picking away from where I needed to be again. But I sorted it out that if I just flipped that on its head and started the whole series with an upstroke, my pick was landing in the right spot. So that's how I solved that problem. So that's just what I recommend if you're doing something that's very alternate picking intense, or that you're having a lot of struggling with string skipping at a high speed. Try just switching your alternate picking around. Start your sequence with a downstroke instead of an upstroke, or an upstroke instead of a downstroke, and you might find that it's going to line up much better. And keep in mind also that you always want to try to be picking towards where your next string is, especially if you're going to be playing things that are fast, because if not, you're going to get yourself stuck. So one quick exercise, or one quick way to help you practice with this idea, is to do things in uneven patterns in your exercises. So I always like to do things in 5s or in 7s. so that basically each time I'm changing strings, each time I start the pattern again, it's with a different stroke than how I started it before. So here we start down, and then that was 5 notes, so now the next one starts up. And you can distribute that over 9s and 7s as well. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. And that's going 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. And just keep it steady, and keep in mind you want to be using uneven numbers for your exercises.